What's up, everybody? My name is Gilbert Trish. I'm a high school strength and conditioning coach. I'm a PE teacher in Harlem. And today, we are talking about the nutrition information dilemma. And this is something that I know keeps you guys up at night. I'm sure you're just dreaming of it, thinking about, oh my God, there's so much information on the internet about nutrition, and I just don't know where to go. And yes, that is the dilemma that we are going to try and pick apart today. There's a group of people out there that believe vegetarianism is the best way to eat food. There's a group of people out there that says you should only eat meat. There's a group of people out there that are saying, no, you should have a balanced diet of vegetables, fruits, grains, whatever. And there's probably 12 people at the northern tip of Sweden that ate seal blubber. And all of these people have studies that say that they have lost weight, maintained health, improved their blood work, yada, 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 yada. There's a million studies out there that contradict one another. And if you go on the internet and you feel like all these ideas are sort of just grinding together and they contradict one another, you would be right. If you have a study that says, hey, this kind of eating is the best way to lose weight, there's another study that contradicts it. There's another one that says this is the best way to do it. And what we're going to talk about today is a bird's eye view of all nutrition data and sort of sift out what it actually says. Instead of looking at singular studies or singular anecdotes from your own life or experiences that people have, what does the mass aggregate data say in general about maintaining your health, your wellness, and let's say just overall blood work and your fight against chronic disease? What does the overall aggregate data say about it? And that's what we're going to experience today. And what we're going to learn from this is basically how do we prioritize what we look at when we look at the efficacy of a diet. So keep in mind, the next food documentary is going to come out, right? There was this crazy one about vegans about a year ago. World exploded. Everyone's like, all right, we got to go plant-based the whole time. And then a bunch of data came out saying contradicting that. What I want you to be able to do at the end of this lesson is take a look at any diet and have a cool, calm, collected vision of what an effective diet should have, and then be able to look at that diet and say, okay, it has this components of this isn't a crazy diet. Or the ability to look at something like you should only eat bananas all the time and try and figure out whether or not that's something that's actually supported by the science. So, without further ado, I shall introduce you to the new food pyramid. Voila! Welcome to the new food pyramid. Now, obviously, this is not a food pyramid in the sense of me telling you what foods to eat and in how much quantities and stuff, but really more of a ranking of importance when you look at a diet and say, I wonder if this is something I want to try. Or I want to make changes to my diet. What are the most important pieces that I need to shift around in order to make sure that I'm maintaining my health, keeping some good, healthy blood work, and making sure that I am fit and active and, happy, stuff like that, okay? So obviously the base of the pyramid is the most important, and we're going to work our way to the tippity top, which is the least important, and I'll have my rationale for why each one of these things is placed the way it is. And keep in mind, this is a bird's eye view of aggregate science, right? Like, there's a million bajillion studies out there. What do the vast majority of all these things say? This is obviously not set in stone, but it's what the mass aggregate of science can tell us at the moment right now. So without further ado, let's start talking about why a calorie balance is the biggest part of this food pyramid. Here we go. So if you've been following this channel for a while, it should come as no surprise to you that whenever we talk about nutrition, it almost always comes back to calories and maintaining a calorie balance if maintaining your weight is a goal of yours. If your goal is to lose weight, your job is to burn more calories than you consume. And the reason this is so important from a health and wellness standpoint is, again, the data says from an aggregate view that maintaining a healthy body weight is one of the most important things you can do to stay healthy. It's one of the most important things you can do to stave off chronic disease. Maintain a healthy body weight. And that's not a set in stone number for any sort of height or weight. There's no moralizing here. There's no, this is good, this is bad. There are wide ranges that we can look at that says, hey, this is an okay body weight to maintain, and this one is a little bit too high and probably will lead to chronic disease. Again, we're dealing in probabilities here. But once again, the calorie balance is sort of this king of evaluating whether or not a diet is effective, because if you are jumping on a diet with the aim of losing weight, and there's nothing that talks about portion sizes, there's nothing that talks about trying to lower the amount of calories that you're currently eating at that moment in order to reduce body fat, then it's probably not going to be an effective diet. And this is something that you need to keep in mind. This is by far the most important piece of any diet that you jump onto. Are there many, many ways to get to a calorie balance or a calorie deficit where you are losing weight? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, if the diet isn't getting you to this piece, it's probably not going to work. Let's talk about food composition now. Food composition is the next piece of importance when we're talking about a sustainable diet that's going to keep us healthy. And when we're talking about in matter of importance, if we're looking at the broad general view of a diet, we're going to say that calorie balance is probably about 60% of the battle. And then the next 20% is food composition. And food composition is very, very simply, where are you getting your calories from? What kinds of foods are you eating? Are they generally healthy foods, or are they processed junk? And there's a lot of ways to define healthy foods, and in fact, so many diets stake their claim on eat this food, don't eat that food. But if we're gonna throw out a very, very general piece of advice, we're gonna say lean meats, we're gonna say fruits and veggies, we're gonna say some healthy fats like olive oil, coconut oil, some butter. We're also gonna say some whole grains, some rice, starchy vegetables like potatoes, and things of that nature. It's almost kind of intuitive. If you can pick it off the ground and eat it, it's probably pretty darn good for you. And on the flip side, it's also pretty intuitive when something isn't good for you, right? If you're crushing some pizza or some cheeseburgers or maybe a bag of cheese doodles, don't worry about it. Now, this is not a one or all proposition either, right? Food composition is important, but it's not an all or nothing deal. You need to eat the vast majority of your intake from healthy foods in order to have a successful diet. However, if you have some sugar, if you have some junk food, if you have some crap in your diet, it is not going to completely derail you. We'll say, as a generality, probably 75% of all your food should come from whole foods, and maybe 25% at the highest range should be processed junk that you can work with. The wonders of working in a place that is not your studio or your bedroom with your orange backdrop. But let's now talk about macronutrient amounts. Now, when I say macronutrients, it should come to no surprise that I'm talking about proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And this is actually a kind of hilarious one because they really don't matter that much. If your calorie balance is like 60% of the importance of your diet and the food composition is the next 20, macronutrient amounts only really account for about 10% of the importance of a diet when we are framing it in the viewpoint of just general health and wellness. So long as you are getting 10% of your calories from protein, 10% of your calories from carbohydrate, and 10% of your calories from fats, the next 70% of all your macronutrients, it doesn't really matter where it comes from. There are a zillion diets that prove the efficacy of this. There are incredibly healthy bodybuilders that have an incredibly high protein amount in their diet. Maybe 40, maybe even 50% of all the food they're eating comes from protein. There are people on a ketogenic diet, right? That's people who get the majority of their calories from fat. If you said to somebody in the 90s, hey, you should be eating the majority of your diet from fats, they'd look at you like crazy. And then there are incredibly high carbohydrate diets, and carbs are like the big spooky boogeyman at this point in the nutrition landscape of fads and stuff like that. But there are plenty of vegans and vegetarians that get the bulk of their calories from carbohydrates, and those people are also healthy as well. So again, if we're going to look at macronutrients from this viewpoint of health and wellness, they don't really matter that much so long as you are in a calorie balance and you're getting the majority of your calories from good, healthy, whole foods, essentially, that are not processed. And it's fascinating to see the amount of diets that state their claim and say, if you only consume this macronutrient, you'll be healthy. If you cut out all the carbs, you're guaranteed to lose weight. Maybe, but maybe not. Again, there's nothing magical about macronutrients except when you've truly cut out an entire macronutrient. And it actually takes a lot of work to truly eliminate one whole macronutrient, right? Like try eating a diet where there is literally no carbohydrate in it. It's almost impossible. You've cut out every single vegetable there is just by saying that. Try eating a diet with zero fat in it. It's remarkably hard to do. Try eating a diet that is only carbohydrate, right? These things happen naturally on their own. When you are eating a bunch of whole unprocessed foods and you're in a calorie balance, chances are you are gonna get those 10% of each macronutrient fairly easily. So again, if we're gonna look at the importance of things, 60%, 80%, macronutrients, like 10% of the equation, which is 90% of this thing already, and we've got even 3 more to talk about. So let's get to it. So the next one is nutrient timing. And I'm gonna just go ahead and point a finger at the very, very popular diet now, or a popular concept called intermittent fasting, where people don't eat for a certain amount of time, and then there's this period of the day, maybe 4, 6, or maybe even 8 hours, where they're allowed to eat all their calories and then go on with their day, and not eat outside of that 8-hour window. And part of the reason this got so popular is because when there's that 8-hour window, it helps them maintain a calorie balance, right? If they're not allowed to eat all throughout the day, chances are they end up eating less and they lose weight because they were eating in a calorie deficit. But at the end of the day, if you're holding a calorie balance or you're holding a calorie deficit, nutrient timing doesn't really matter. It really doesn't. Unless you have stated specific goals as an athlete or something like that, when we are looking at the general picture of health and wellness, nutrient timing is a very, very low priority in terms of actually keeping you healthy. There are people who can eat 8 meals a day perfectly healthy. There are other people that go 1 day on and 1 day off of eating, which already sounds weird, but those people can also be healthy. The timing of nutrients isn't all that important. It's caught a lot of popularity because it can lead people to a calorie balance or a calorie deficit. But again, it doesn't really matter that much. It just may or may not lead to one of these things. Now let's talk about hydration. And hydration kind of really makes me laugh because there's this huge emphasis out there that you have to drink enough water, you have to get enough fluids, you need enough electrolytes. And at the end of the day, you don't really need to think about it. It's a fairly self-regulating thing that our body does really, really well, which is if I'm thirsty, I feel thirsty, so I drink some water. And if I'm not thirsty, I don't need to drink water. There's no reason to go to the bathroom 6 times a day because you have to have 2 gallons of water every single day. And finally, let's talk about supplements. And oh man, if there was ever an axe for me to grind in the nutrition world, it is against supplements. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it makes about 1 to 0% difference when we are talking about health and wellness, and possibly even performance. Calorie balance, food composition, even macronutrient amounts can have an impact on your health and wellness. Supplements, in the context of these things, are almost nothing. For the most part, supplements don't really do what we want them to do. If something is fortified with vitamin D, you don't usually feel that much of a difference. Now, if you have a severe vitamin or mineral deficiency in something, a supplement can help out with that stuff. But if you are having a whole food-based diet and you're maintaining a calorie balance and you're getting, at least 10% protein, carbohydrate, and fat out of your diet, chances are you do not need supplements. Maybe a multivitamin can help you out. Maybe some fish oil, if you're not getting any fatty fish in your diet, can help out with your diet. But at the end of the day, oh my God, a multi-billion-dollar industry exists, and the efficacy of the products that they are selling truly don't really help you get where you need to go. This is more important. This is more important. This is more important. This, spending your money on that, not really all that important. Stop wasting your money. don't do it. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the new food pyramid. And that's all, folks. As always, please drop a like, please subscribe. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments. I guarantee I will answer them. And until next time, I will see ya then.